Welcome to Inspired Living with Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector. Every Wednesday, Marc, along with his special guests, will explore thought-provoking topics and ideas that promote creativity, self-help, healing, happiness, and well-being to inspire you on your spiritual journey. Each week, Marc will discuss different paths to achieving a more spiritual, balanced, happy, and healthy lifestyle. Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual. Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. Marc is a tested, certified, and professional spiritual medium, metaphysical teacher, healer, and spiritual advisor with a spiritual practice based in Seattle, Washington. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
And you are the inspired in the inspiration. So let's be inspired, let's inspire others, and let's inspire before we expire. Welcome to Inspired Living, where every moment is an opportunity to ignite your passion and your curiosities and embrace the many mysteries, phenomenons, the unknown, the ordinary, and yes, the extraordinary. I am your host, Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, here with you yet again for what I like to call soul adventures in an inspiring episode to explore, discuss, and discover the many diamonds within each and every one of us and the many hidden gems that have yet to be revealed to us and the rest of the world. I'm thrilled to have you join us today as we embark on a journey of inspiration, motivation, and transformation. Whether you're tuning in from the comfort of your home, on the road, or wherever life takes you, this show is designed to uplift your spirit and empower your dreams. Inspired Living is all about fostering a supportive and empowering community. I always like to say community. Each episode will highlight incredible guests like the one we have today who have overcome challenges, pursued their passions, and make a positive impact on their respected fields and our amazing and beautiful world. The journey matters, and we want to celebrate your victories no matter how big or how small. And together, we can cultivate a mindset of possibility and unlock the doors to our dreams. Inspired listeners can expect engaging discussions, thought-provoking questions, and actionable steps to manifest inspiration into your reality. Of course, we always want to say thank you and give a big shout out to all of our inspired listeners from around the globe, the universe, and beyond. The team and I here at Inspired Living are so always very humbled and grateful to you for listening, downloading, subscribing, and leaving reviews. And because of that energy and because of that intention, this has made Inspired Living now a best inspirational show and a best spiritual show to follow and listen to, as referenced by FeedSpot. So we want to just say we thank you. We really appreciate it. Keep it going, and we'll keep the inspirational shows coming your way. If you have not yet subscribed, liked, or followed the show, there's always time to do so over on our main social media platforms at Facebook. Just look for Inspired Living. We're now well over 3,000 inspired listeners from around the globe in the community, so thank you. Instagram, Blue Sky, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Just look for our social media presence under Inspired For Us. That's the number 4, Inspired For Us. And of course, you can always follow us over on our YouTube channel, Inspired Living Radio. And we are now streaming through Audible. And you can get this episode and 10 seasons of Inspired Living wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. So let's get ready to be inspired, uplifted, encouraged, and motivated, because I always like to say the best is always yet to come. So let's go prospecting together, shall we? Today, for the first time, we're going to welcome our special guest. He is an actor, a musician, an author, a humanitarian, a poet. We were talking before the show. He said he wasn't a poet, but I think he's a poet who doesn't know it. And a pilot, Mr. Chris Howard, to discuss his new autobiography of a waking brain called From My Soul to Yours, The Poem Journeys of a Mystic Mind. And he prefaces it this way: think of these poems as hugs from my soul to yours to inspire and uplift you on your own journey to the divine. And that's what we're going to do today. We all could use a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of spiritual hugs from the divine, whatever that is for you, based on everything going on in our world. And a little bit just more about Mr. Howard's industry. He is a humanitarian. His products are what uplift and inspire everybody to bring some light into their lives. His 2 books are tools for his mission, and the 5-star reviews show he is accomplishing his goal. As a professional actor, he was in the Warner Brother film Camelot. He's a musician, and Linda Ronstadt recorded one of his songs. Very cool. He owned a marketing company, and he still restores classic cars at the Classic Rides factory. He's a private pilot who owns his own planes. His spiritual journey is unparalleled. From meditation, he reached and explored the superconscious. He later became a licensed hypnotherapist and learned the power of the subconscious, which we'll talk about on today's show. He combines his knowledge and presents a unique approach because he uses quantum physics, which we'll also talk about, to support his spiritual goals. Mr. Howard is fluent in both Spanish and with a teleprompter can give talks in both French, German, and Russian. He's a father and a grandfather, and he continues to this day to write music and fulfill his goal as a positive influence in people's lives. If you want to learn more about Chris Howard, you can go to word-songs.org. That's again, word-songs.org. And Chris, welcome to Inspired Living. Love the journey, love the background and the bio. You've done a lot in your journey here.
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to be with you.
Well, let's talk about what version of Camelot were you in? What year? Because there's a couple Camelots out there.
You know, that was so far in the past. I think it's probably got some mold on it by now. But I mean,
are we talking the 1967 version?
Yes, the main Warner Brothers film of Camelot.
Okay.
And
okay.
I believe I think it was with Richard Harris and Vanessa Redgrave.
Yes, it would be. Yeah, that.
I played the Blue Knight Sir Bruce, and I'm the one who had the particular position of fighting with Lancelot and saying he'd been the Queen's lover for years, and we had that little altercation and the sword fight. So it was a fun part to play.
Well, it's a pleasure talking with you. Thank you for coming on the show. I'll make sure to go check that out. I'm a big movie buff myself, so I'd say it's been a few years since I've seen the original Camelot, but I'll definitely go look for that that part of the film so I can see you fighting in the movie with a sword. That's very cool. It's not every day we get Hollywood actors on our show, so that's why I wanted to talk about it. But also a musician, where you had Linda Ronstadt record one of your songs. What song was that?
That was a song called Carnival Bear that anybody can hear on YouTube. And it was back in the time when I was involved with them. She was in the Stone Ponies at that particular time.
Okay.
And we developed that one together with her two accompanists. It was a fun time.
Brilliant. Well, I love it. And I'll definitely, two things I'll check out. I wanted to ask you live on the show because I'm always about soul adventures and learning and connecting with people. And so those are two things that I'll go watch Camelot, and I'll listen to, say the song one more time, Carnival Bears. Did I hear that right?
It's Carnival Bear. And
Carnival Bear, okay.
It's kind of the song of my soul. And the time that I felt in the busy Los Angeles world, and I would rather have been out of all of the traffic and the noise and up in the mountains somewhere and enjoying the beauties of nature and creeks and fresh air. And that's kind of what the song the message it gives across. And so Linda basically sang the song of my soul.
Oh, I love it. And now, are you still in the LA area, or have you since then moved on?
No, I haven't been in touch with her since that time, and that was a long time ago, and I was working in music, and it was the time when we produced the Lumpy Gravy album with the Mothers of Invention at Capitol Records, and it was just a particular period of my life that I went through and moved on from.
Yeah, and have you moved on from LA as far as like living where you're at today? Are you still in the LA area, or have you moved to a different part of the world, or where are you at in the world?
Well, actually, I moved to the local California mountains, and 6,000 feet up in a beautiful little village called Forest Falls, and lived up there for about 20 years. And
Good for you.
That's where I love to be, and then we moved to Newport Beach, and so that's where I am now.
Okay, brilliant. So from the mountains to the ocean, can't go wrong with any one of those.
Exactly. And with the same sweetheart in both places, and that's the important part.
That is. As somebody that's been married for 30 years myself, I definitely appreciate that journey of having a soulmate with us along on these soul adventures that we go to. So I love that I'm sure that, being in that industry as a musician, as a Hollywood actor, it probably, drove you to find that peace and that stillness, and what you do today in spirituality to, the chaos, with everything going on in the world. I was just listening to an older version of Ram Dass, and he always talked about the more crazy the world gets around you, the more you become to know yourself. And I was just like, oh, that's very interesting, because I'm looking at the world and it's so crazy, but I'm also at the same time getting to learn a lot about myself in the spiritual concept. And so for you, you wrote this journey called From My Soul to Yours, and it's the poem journeys of a mystic mind. So do you look at yourself now as a mystic mind? I know before the show you didn't say you were much of a poet, but anybody that writes a book about poems, in my opinion, would be a poet. But would you classify yourself as a mystic mind and somebody that's looking both deeper into the subconscious and the unconscious?
Well, at this particular point, relative to the space I was in during the time that the poems happened, I'm not, because I was in about a 10-year mystic period in which I, like Steve Jobs, who called him the secret to his success, I followed Paramahansa Yogananda, and after a Christian upbringing, ended up studying Kriya Yoga and practicing it for many years, and meditating, 4 or 5 hours a day, and breaking through to the superconscious, as you mentioned earlier. And so that was a very specific time in my life when I climbed to the top of a particular mountain of my being, and and again, I said I wasn't a poet, and that wasn't in my mind at all, and the poems just flowed through. As I sat at the typewriter, sometimes 6 at a time, and so and to give you an idea of the level of where the inspiration came from, I was just looking at one of the poems, which was really, really prophetic. It's not too long, and I'd appreciate being to read it to you. It's number 66, called Divorce. And how would I know any of this, as you'll think about it? And this is it. It's the school bell rang, and all the children went home and picked up where they left off before their school began. Married to their phones, divorced from one another, no touch or eye to eye for too many children, a whole generation, the human family divided, no guiding hands, like a broken home, with one parent gone and the other one a phone. And so this is this is from 1971, and today we are all complaining about the fact that kids are on their phones all the time. They don't have enough human contact and fellowship. And so this is a very prophetic poem that I have no idea or had no idea about, and it was just one of the poems that flowed out during that time. And as I read over it, it sort of gave me an idea of where that inspiration came from something or some energy that had a handle on the direction that society was going in, particularly young people. And so I had my own meditation groups and broke through to the superconscious, which meant that my inner vision opened so that I could actually see spirits in the spiritual dimension who were actually beside me. I believe I mentioned one of them, which was my spiritual mom, who was a minister, was in the hospital dying, and I sat beside her. And as I sat beside her, Archangel Michael appeared beside me in his dimension. And I never talk about events like that when I have them, and so I said nothing. And then Archangel Michael said to me, "Please tell her I'm here." And I still said nothing because I was shy about things like that. And so he pushed me again, and he said, "Please tell her I'm here." So I finally said to my mom, I said, "Archangel Michael wants me to tell you that he's here." And she immediately burst into tears and said I was just praying for him to be with me. And so that is an example of a prayer being answered, number one. And number two, a shared metaphysical or a shared spiritual event from the divine or spiritual realm into the physical realm, and with direct immediate consequences. And I believe that during my mystic period, I opened a particular doorway through which both the poems and Archangel Michael and other beings that I was blessed to see were able to come through. So am I in that space now? But do I have contact still with the spiritual realm? I'm never without it. I mean, I've actually gone to a drawer in the kitchen to look for something, and inside me the voice says, no, it's in this one over here. And so I believe that my spiritual contact is void to a point where it's with my words, it's with my thoughts, and it's with what I'm doing. So that's kind of what that period was for me. And my goal now is just with the inspiration and the 59 5-star reviews on Amazon for the book of poems. My hope is that people, as they read it, will feel that their spirit is taking them on that journey and bringing them that inspiration and that love. And people have said in the reviews, I've never been so inspired, never been so uplifted. And so the book is doing what I hoped, which is bringing some light and love and inspiration into this troubled little world that we live in.
Oh, great. Congratulations on the publishing and the reviews. That's always important, especially 5-star reviews in this day and age of social media. And that poem, going back to that poem that you did, the download, or, the super conscious, it goes by many different names, right? Some call it the spirit world, the super conscious, the afterlife. I mean, heaven, it goes by so many different, depending on the perspective of the person. But you wrote this back in 1971, and it's so relevant today. I wasn't even born yet, just so you know. I wasn't born until 72. But going, 53 years into the future, and it's worldwide. I just was out of country on a trip, the beautiful country of Portugal, and everybody was on their phones. Even in other countries, it's very relevant, not just here in the United States. So that poem is really hitting home with, I think, a lot of people that, I'm even seeing a trend where some of the population is going back to what they call the dumb phones. It's just a regular phone without all the social media tied to it, what our smartphones have today. But it's just brilliant that people are resonating with that, regardless if it's from the 1970s or 2025. Because those downloads and that connection to the superconscious is wisdom that we can access anytime we choose to, the free will and choice of the human experience. Now, for you,
sure.
when you started to, for the listener, I want to just kind of paint a perspective for the listening audience, because we may have, many of our listeners are definitely deep into what we're talking about, but there might be some new listeners that have no idea what we're talking about. So for the superconscious, when you started to have that experience with the angels and that higher voice that you were hearing, how did that make you feel at a human level? As far as, was there any fear there, or was it comfort? How did you feel when you started to open that portal to the superconscious, for my listening audience?
Well, many people who have had near-death experiences have mentioned, like Anita Morjani, who died in a hospital from stage 4 cancer and was healed with miracles in just a couple of days, and raised from being dead after the hospital declared her dead.
Yeah, correct.
They have all mentioned that they go to a dimension, or a non-physical dimension, and the thing that most of them feel is just an incredible amount of love and comfort. And so for me, it was never anything that I was afraid of. It was something that I welcomed. And I felt that same love. So whether we call it God or the superconscious or spirit or whatever, to me, it's all the mind of God, and that's how I kind of look at things from the quantum physics and scientific perspective. And so to me, it was just a joy to get there, and I felt an immense joy. But obviously, with sitting in front of a typewriter, and I feel like Puccini, who said he never wrote the opera Madame Butterfly. He said he just went to where it was already written and copied it down. And so I kind of feel I didn't go somewhere to copy it down. I kind of sat at the typewriter, and I happened to be the doorway through which they came.
Yeah, the download, the doorway, the channel, it goes by, like you said, many different names.
Yeah.
And for you, I love...
Steve Jobs said, I mean, here he is, the founder of Apple, and he said, he called Paramahansa Yogananda the secret to his success. And during his funeral service, he had 200 copies of the Autobiography of a Yogi, Yogananda's book, given to everyone who attended. And so the actual, he was kind of the person who introduced Kriya Yoga to the West. And so it is something that has made a lot of difference in, in countless lives.
Yeah, that vibration continues on to this day. And I love that you shared your perspective of joy and love and support, because I myself, a lot of the work that I do today, even, just the host of this show, Inspired Living, is because of my own spiritual encounters, my own near-death experience, and, different modalities from plant medicines to meditation, and feeling that connection to the bigger source. And again, it has many different names depending on where you're at in the world and what generation you come from. But I love, and that's just I just want to reassure my listening audience out there, whether you're hearing the show today or 10 or 50 years down the road, that portal, if you choose to access it, is filled with joy. It is filled with love. It is filled with support. It is filled with wisdom and guidance and knowledge, as Chris is sharing with us today. And so for you, in writing this book, was there just a calling to write the book? Did you hear the voice say, Chris, you need to write this book? And you're like, I've never been an author. I've never written a book. Is that just kind of how it unfolded for you, or was there just a timeline that built up to where you originally released your second book? Because you have two books out. You have your this book that we're talking today about, From My Soul to Yours. What was your first book that you did?
That was a book called Is Eternity Already Here? And it's an exploration of science, an exploration of spirituality, and it is in effect it's kind of the autobiography of my journey to reach the space that I'm in. And it covers everything from quantum physics to aliens, to one person commented how he loved the way I looked at Mother Teresa and talked about her, and it includes some Greek philosophy and a whole other things such as that. So it's another thing. It got a 5-star review on the online book club, as did the book we're talking about. So
nice.
I think it also is on this website, iseternityalreadyhere.org. And so that is another thing and God bless you for doing this show, Mark. It's just wonderful. And to be able to express all of these things with so many people and help them on their journeys, and we call it spirit and the superconscious, but it's basically on their journeys to the personality and the being of God.
You're most welcome, my friend. Thanks for coming on and sharing with us. I'd love to have you come back and do another show on this other book that you're talking about. That sounds fascinating to me. Definitely right in the wheelhouse of what we're doing, especially when you talk about science and spirituality, because I believe that's a big part of what I do today is bridging. Carl Sagan viewed science and spirituality not as mutually exclusive, but as compatible and even mutual reinforcing. He always argued that science provides a profound source of our spirituality by inspiring the awe in humanity through the understanding of our place in this cosmos. And I think that this book and this other book I'd love to learn more about, bring you back in 2026 to have another conversation on that concept, I think would be fascinating to the listening audience. And I love that you take that approach of combining spirituality with science, because I think they do go hand in hand. And you talked about this being the waking brain. Talk to me a little bit more about this waking brain concept that's on your book, and for the listening audience. What do you mean by the waking brain?
Well, we all come to the point, I think, of discovering that there's more to human life than just being human. And my goal with the book Is Eternity Already Here? What I really like to see happen, and the purpose is that after somebody reads it, they will not have to ask, how did we get here? Why are we here? What are we doing? And where do we go after we die? And with it based in scientific fact. So the waking brain, in my case, was something that included my spiritual research and research in philosophy and science and everything else. And so ultimately you get to a point saying, as the song went, what's it all about, Alfie? And the idea is, what are we here for? What is this
what's
human
the point?
life? And what's the point? And it's definitely to enjoy this this incredible beauty. But to me, each human being and each human life is like its own personal mountain. And you're climbing up it, and you continue going around, and you have experiences. And I call the poems like scenic points on the journey, where you take pictures of places that you love to remember your journey. And these poems are kind of thoughts that comprise the mountain. And as we climb up it, and as we get closer and closer to the top, God says, oh, we can give this person a little bit more information and a little bit more insight and a lot more love, and show them how to share it and show them how to be it and express it. And so it's a journey. Everybody goes through the journey to the top of their mountain from birth to death, and it's up to us and the people like you who are sharing your thoughts to gather thoughts and beautiful moments along that journey.
Brilliant. I think we're going to pause. That's a perfect time to pause. And when we come back from our first break, Chris is going to share some more of those scenic views with us. He's our guest today, actor, musician, author, humanitarian, poet, and pilot, Mr. Chris Howard's sharing his book today, From My Soul to Yours, The Poem Journeys of a Mystic Mind, an Autobiography of a Waking Brain by Christian Howard. We'll be back here in 2 minutes. This is Inspired Living.
The future of internet radio is here. Om Times Radio, IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
One planet, 7.3 billion people. Only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Marc's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream. Dare to explore. Dare to live. For more information on Marc's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
You came across someone struggling with hunger. How would you recognize them? Would you notice an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for summer break
because she may not be having lunch again until September?
Or a war veteran who's having a hard time
landing a job and getting back on his feet?
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Inspired Living. I'm your host, Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, and today we have our very special guest joining the show for the very first time. He's an actor, a musician, an author, a humanitarian, a poet, and a pilot, Mr. Chris Howard, and we're discussing his autobiography of a waking brain, From My Soul to Yours, The Poem Journeys of a Mystic Mind. Chris explains it this way: think of these poems as hugs from my soul to yours to inspire and uplift you on your own journey to the divine. Chris, welcome back to the show. I always remind my listeners, that spiritual path leads you back to your soul, whatever that spiritual path is going to be, whatever it unfolds for you. Shows like this, books like you've written, authors, teachers, gurus, whatever you're searching for out there, because we're all searching for something, kind of what we were saying earlier, like what's the point of all this? Why are we here? What is our purpose? What is our passion? What is our plan? Just once you get on that spiritual path, it'll lead you back to your soul. And when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And we have a great teacher with us today teaching us about the mystic mind and the superconscious. And for you, Chris, you've done a lot in your life. It's not every day I get to talk to somebody that's, not just a musician and an actor and a pilot, but also can speak several languages. So is that something that has just come to you naturally, the curiosity? It kind of reminds me of Einstein, when Einstein said, I don't really have any special skills. I'm just passionately curious. I'm paraphrasing, but along those lines. Are you just passionately curious and you went and explored all these different modalities to share with us today?
I think that's probably explained perfectly. I mean, I happen to have been born in Switzerland and with a British dad and a Swiss-American mom. We spoke English at home. But I was in school there, and I was ended up being fluent in French. And so when I ended up at Rutgers, I decided I'd like something different. So I took Russian and minored in Spanish, and obviously spoke some German in Switzerland as well. So that sort of came along with the ride, so to speak. And I'm still fluent in Spanish, but that's kind of how things all came together. And so it's definitely been a thing of interest. I have one of those brains that doesn't stop, and loves to see things of interest. And I'm not able to sit in front of the TV. I'd rather put something really interesting on, rather than some daily show about who's loving whom and who's doing what.
Right.
Who's making dinner, and I'd rather watch Ancient Aliens and learn about things like the Temple of Baalbek in Lebanon, which has those 1,000-ton blocks of perfectly cut stone in the foundation. And, obviously humans don't have that capacity to do that today. And there's no way we could load and move a 1,000-ton block of stone. So, the Kailasa temple in India that was just cut from the top down out of a solid rock. And these are the kind of things I'm learning where those came from and how and why, and learning how to play the guitar, because I love the guitar sounds, or the piano that I'm writing music on today. It's just, and flying, of course, I've always loved flying and loved being a pilot. So these are just things that interested me, things that I loved.
Well, I love that you have a life well lived and full of soul adventures. I always remind our listening audience that our greatest commodity is not money, it is our time, because at the end of the day, we're another day older, and we never know what that account looks like as far as the time goes. And that makes sense to the language and speaking different languages. When you're in Europe or London, it's pretty common to speak German, French, English, just because I just came from, being out of country for almost a month. And but I had to work hard to understand my language. I only speak Spanish and Portuguese and English, but I had to work really, really hard to understand that. But I love that you've just really gone after life, that carpe diem, right? Seize the day to be in a movie of Camelot and to have a song, recorded by Linda Ronstadt. I mean, that's just phenomenal. To write 2 books. And I'd love to have you come back and discuss your second book with us in 2026, if you have a little bit of free time on your hands.
Well, thank you very much for that. I would love to. And, one thing just for your listeners also, since I restored classic cars, if they want to, they can see I had 2,800 likes on this in Facebook, and it's /Classic Rides Factory. And so anybody who loves classic cars, this is just sort of eye candy for all of them in case they want to do it. And I'm just finishing up a Bronco and then a 50s Volkswagen in that company. So that's just something else that I did as well. So I love finding out, for example, about science. I mean, it was Einstein said God is love. And he said there's no such thing as reality. And he's the one who said we are made of sacred biochemical garments, and our bodies are the instruments through which our souls play their music. And so This is a man who was highly spiritual as far as I'm concerned, and people just think of him, oh, he was the guy
science.
who came up with EMC squared and the bomb.
Right. Yeah. The theory of relativity. Yeah, exactly. Well, you're a man after my own heart, because as I look out my studio here, I'm looking down at my 1992 Ford F-150, my first pickup I ever had. It probably could use a little restoration. The paint job is pretty much gone, but I like holding on to old things. And my 2008 Jeep Wrangler, so that's still in pretty good condition. But yeah, I just want to, just say thank you for coming on today and just sharing your story with us. And I would like, if you're up for it, to give us a little synopsis of this poem journey from a mystic mind. You already read one, which I think is fabulous, given the time and how it relates to the time. Is there a few other of your favorites that you'd like to? I think you call them the scenic views of these mountains that we're all trying to climb and understand. Is there a few others that are kind of your favorites that you'd like to share live on the air with us?
Share life about which that are my favorites? I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that one.
Yeah, which of the poems in the Mystic Mind, what are some of your favorite poems that you might want to share with us?
Well, the favorite one I'd like to share is it kind of lays out what it's all about, and it's called Awaken, if I may share that with you.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go prospecting.
Sure. Awaken, silent friend that I found sleeping here inside. Time for us once more to share the laughter and friend words that were a symphony we played somewhere far away and long ago. Awaken now the ears that heard your melodies. Awaken now the heart that knew you then. Let these eyes see and know you, growing like the butterfly, whose life no longer footsteps by the inch across a stem, but soars from rose to daffodil, across clear streams and over hills. While he crawled from leaf to leaf, maybe he had the same joy that I feel in finding you asleep inside me, as he labored many days to cross a patch of garden covered now in one brief moment on his rainbow-colored wings. Maybe he knew it then. I've learned to hear you once again, so wake up now and let us share the joy that he has given us to paint upon the rainbow moments of eternity.
Just letting that sit for a sec.
That's kind of what I'd like to do for everybody. And my hope is, again, as I mentioned, is just as everybody reads the book of inspired poems, that they consider it their own journey and their own spirit leading them. Because my job, and as a spiritual, kind of coach myself, it's just to bring everybody to love and to, as Einstein wrote to his daughter, he said, if we are to save our species and every living thing on the planet, love is the one and only answer, because God is love. As Jesus said, God is love. Jesus is very much a part of this journey.
Yeah, the Christ consciousness for sure. And one of the things for the listening audience that I always remind them, and Dr. Wayne Dyer talked about this years and years ago when I started my spiritual journey, he always talked about if you change the way that you look at things, the things that you look at will start to change. And so sometimes we have to move past our biases, our conscious bias and our unconscious bias, and really explore and prospect to be like, well, what did he mean by that? What is that perspective? And that's where, again, that spiritual path will start to take you back to your journey and your soul. And for you, Chris, do you think of yourself as kind of a spiritual leader for our time, or where do you kind of see yourself in today's society and what you're doing?
No, I definitely see that. You've got your beautiful practice in Seattle and the people you touch, and my hope is to touch. I mean, I've had people. It was number one in Australia. It was number in the EU. It was number one in Italy. It was number here in the U.S. Number one in the U.S. So I am able to be a guide, so to speak, spiritually, and uplift people and inspire them through the books. So that is kind of how I consider myself. And I gave up a lot because I knew that this is what my mission had to be. During my acting time and after I was in Camelot, I was taken to lunch by Bill Orr, who was the head producer of all Warner Brothers Television at the time and a top Hollywood actor. And I met them through Barbara Warner, his daughter, And so I was taking a top agent from Hollywood and Bill Orr, and they wanted to turn me into a movie star. And I thought about it for a few days, and I just felt, no, this is not my path. I need to keep myself to something else. I never called them back. That is one of the things that I gave up to be where I am today. And that's standing in Jack Warner's front room with Van Gogh sunflowers behind him. And on the left side wall was a Salvador Dali painting of Mrs. Warner, whom I met. Jack at the time was upstairs dying. And that's on the 9-acre estate and his huge Georgian mansion that I believe Jeff Bezos bought for $160 million. So that is the point that I went to, and I said, no, I am giving that up for my mission. And my mission is what you've been hearing today, and bless you for having me on your show, and what you've allowed me to share with people about these books, because they are doing their job, and they are bringing light and love to people who read them. And that's, in that way, I consider myself, in answer to your earlier question, that yes, I do consider myself a spiritual guide, and that's what my life journey has led towards, is helping people towards their own spirituality.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that memory and that story, because a lot of people out there today to give that up, especially with many people trying to get their foot just in that door that you stood, where you were just talking about. That takes great insight and great courage to be like, you know what, I'm going to give up that glamour and that lifestyle of Hollywood to go in a different direction. So yes, I would definitely say a spiritual teacher and leader of our time. So thank you for sharing that story. That's just phenomenal. So was Camelot was the only movie you were ever in? That was the only movie that you did, and then you were done?
I'm sorry. I said that was.
Was that the only movie that you did? No, it was Camelot the only movie that you...
No, I was also in What Did You Do in the War, Daddy, with Blake Edwards. I was in all kinds of TV shows. I was in Camelot many times, 12 O'Clock High, so a bunch of TV shows and a couple.
So you were well on your way.
Yeah,
I was. So you were well on your way. Okay.
Barbara Warner had just come back from France and was really lonely, and she's the one who invited me.
The future of Internet radio is here. Om Times Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
One planet, 7.3 billion people. Only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Marc's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream. Dare to explore. Dare to live. For more information on Marc's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free ascendinghearts.com.
You came across someone struggling with hunger. How would you recognize them? Would you notice an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for
summer break because she may not be having lunch again until September?
Or a war veteran who's having a hard time
landing a job and getting back on his feet?
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Okay. And welcome back to Inspired Living. I'm your host, Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector. Our guest today, a very special guest joining us from his home up in the mountains, Chris Howard, talking about his journey as a humanitarian, as a musician, as an actor, as an author, a pilot. And we're talking today, we've been just learning about him and his journey from My Soul to Yours, The Poem Journeys of a Mystic Mind, The Autobiography of a Waking Brain by Christian Howard. We had a little bit of a technical issue, but we got you back. We're reconnected in this big world of ours. Chris, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
thank you.
Oh, right. Thanks for joining us. I was just talking before we lost the line here. Just was, saying thank you for the soul adventures and everything that you've shared with us today. And how do you find all the time to do all this stuff? Restoring cars and, writing books and.
Well, what can I say? I mean, I guess I have a little bit of craziness with all this, and so I don't know when to quit. And since the toes are still pointing forward instead of up, I guess I'll be continuing to be active until that eventuality. So,
okay, I haven't heard that one before. I like that one. I'll have to use that. I like that. So you do sleep though, right? You do get some rest from time to time.
Well, I occasionally do sleep, yes, but I mean, like the other night, I had 3 or 4 hours of sleep and then got up because I'm working on promotion of the book, of course. Mm-hmm. And so, but yeah, I have a little bit of trouble sleeping sometime, but I think my mind is okay when I get up in the morning and go to the bathroom to shave and don't look in the mirror and say, who is that person looking back at me? And so. It's just a question of my mind is still extremely active, and sometimes I do have the problem calming down, and so it's just a question of continuing going with the flow of who I am, and that's kind of crazy to a lot of people, but I just enjoy it, and I love the cars. I mean, when you take a BMW 3.0 CS or 2800, or you look at the beautiful lines of the old Mustangs and some of the other things, it's kind of tragic to see what's happening to cars today. To me, they kind of all look alike. But the beauty of a Mercedes 300 SL, cars used to be artwork, and I find it a hard way to think of them today. And so I just continue along, doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, and thank you for doing what you're doing and sharing with the listening audience today. Because there are people in the world that don't sleep a lot. There's many people in history known for their works would talk about maybe sleeping 1 to 2, maybe 4 hours at most. And I'm just the opposite. I love my sleep because we're in 3 states of consciousness at any given time. We're either in the awakened state, we're either in the sleep state, or we're either in the dream state. And for me, I like to get into that sleep dream state and connect it in that way. Some, like yourself, like to connect in the awakened state. So, and I think Einstein, we've been talking about Einstein a lot today. He talked about the intuitive mind as a sacred gift. And I've always been like, oh, that's interesting. Because he talked about, the logic will get you from A to B, and imagination will take you everywhere. And so I feel like that there's always all these ideas and downloads, or, like you said, working on restoring cars and writing your next book. And so, yeah, I was just wondering if you actually slept, if you were one of those people that sleep very limited in your journey of life. So.
Yes, that is exactly the case. I mean,
interesting.
I'm usually good with 5 or 6 hours sleep a night, and sometimes less. But it works. It seems to work for me. And the brain hasn't been complaining to me yet, so I'm okay.
Well, and again, Einstein always talked about, paraphrasing, but he always talked about the 3.5 pound brain on average that all of us have is one of the most mysterious objects in the universe. So we'll just kind of leave it there. Just with the time we have left, Chris, what do you feel in this book? Why do you feel, or why do you think that this book is so important?
Well, people don't necessarily think about things, and I think kind of a good way to explain that is I had a professional review on the book, and it's, as someone who has spent years reading spiritual literature and poetry, I found From My Soul to Yours to be less a book I read and more a space I entered. So to read it is to walk briefly beside someone who has not only looked deeply into the mysteries of life and God, but has also been shaped, humbled, and illuminated by the answers that came from within. So to me, everybody has a doorway to spirit. It's like Anita Moorjani, when she had declared dead from stage 4 cancer. That doorway opened, and her perfect self in the spiritual realm just imposed itself on her body. And so I show with quantum physics and that nothing in the physical universe can create itself. I don't care what the scientists are saying. They can't prove that I can prove that that is the case. They can't prove that it isn't. And so while we are here physically, we have a spiritual self in a divine dimension, which is the cause of our existence, why we put on these physical body spacesuits to experience this beautiful planet we're on. And my thought is that everybody needs to open that doorway, and whatever I can do with my writings to help people break through to their own source, or their own tuning in to spirituality, that is what I'd like to see happen, because everybody is unique. As far as I'm concerned, before we're physical, every one of us is a unique atom in the body of God. And that's what I'd like to see people realize and aspire to and reach. And that's why in something I wrote, I put a little meditation so that they can bring that process through the beginnings of Kriya Yoga to reach towards spirit, as I was blessed to do in my journey in mysticism. And so that's kind of my goal, and I'd like to spend the rest of my life doing.
Well, thank you so much. And as the Doors always wrote about, break on through to the other side, right? So, Chris, my friend, it's been a pleasure talking with you today and sharing your memories and your insights and your skills and your experiences. Come back and share your other story with us. Love to continue this journey of prospecting with you. It's great to meet you, great to learn from you, and thank you for all that you do, my friend.
Well, great very much to be with you, Mark, and thank you very much for your show, and thank you for letting me on. I appreciate it very much. God bless.
My pleasure. God bless. And as Einstein reminded us, based on thinking and consciousness, quote, I never made one of my discoveries through the process of rational thinking, end quote. So my friends, until our next soul adventure together, be kind, be caring, be compassionate. Most importantly, wherever you're at in this world, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live, and discover the diamond within and the many hidden gems that are all around us. We'll see you next time here on Inspired Living. Take care, everybody.